Hello and welcome to another flip through video. So we're going to take a look at the second of the original 2009 Planechase decks that I'm revisiting as part of this ongoing series. And so this was the artifact deck that they produced at the time of this set. And this was 5 colours as well. So I believe, was it Metallic Dreams? Something like that. So we'll take a look at the deck. We'll have a look at the artwork for the planes cards. Yeah, for all of these decks I don't really mention it because it's not super important, but there's the planar dice you get with it. So it's blank on most of the sides except 2. So you have the, Magic the Gathering symbol, I suppose, and that sort of planar chaos symbol. I have the box as well, look, the original box it came in. It's interesting as well, they don't have the deck names on the box, which is funny. It was only on the original packaging, on the outside stuff, which I definitely don't have that anymore. So I'm going to go through these in rarity order. I think within that they're also organised by increasing CMC. And then we'll get onto some of the non-basic lands. You'll see the original artifact lands in here. And then the mana base, which like I said is 5 colour. You'll probably notice that there's, I think, a couple of colours of mana where there's slightly more. So it'd be interesting to see how this deck is actually fixing for 5 colours. So let's go through, and as usual, I'll just a bit of chit chat. So you're not going to be surprised to hear that we'll see a lot of artifact creatures in here. So we're starting off with our higher rarity here. No mythics here. This is 2009, just to put it into context as to why that might be the case. The other thing, this predates the release, I believe, of Zendikar, so they previewed 4 cards across 5 decks here. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure which one of these in here will be the Zendikar preview card, but it may just stick out like a sore thumb. We've got Bosch Iron Golem in here from Golem. You can't see it here, and with these, as you know, I like to focus on the artwork, but a number of cards here, including this one, you see the affinity for artifacts. So although they're not an artifact in and of themselves, they have affinity for artifacts. Always nice to see a Loxodon Warhammer. And we have a Daughter Nothingness. Alternate win condition card, if you're not familiar with it. Darksteel Forge, which is a card that gives artifacts indestructible. So the deck obviously played around with affinity. It's a 5 colour deck as well, so it was able to leverage modular. That's the ability where when it enters the battlefield it has +1/+1 counters on it, and when it's put into a graveyard you may put its +1/+1 counters on a target artifact creature. And so there was a modular and then a number. Now I think I misspoke there. I was thinking of another ability actually around that time. And that, of course, the one I'm thinking of is Sunburst. So Sunburst and Modular were in this one. With modular, it had a number next to it, and that would signify the number of +1/+1 counters. But Sunburst used +1/+1 counters, but it was dependent on each colour of mana that you spent on it, and that was also in the set. Plus a number of these, in the deck. Plus a number of these cards had the ability to move counters around as well, which is where you get the interesting interaction between Sunburst and modular. So we've moved on to uncommons, and so we've got affinity for artifacts, messing about with +1/+1 counters, and things that move those counters around. But of course, we're all here for the artwork. I'll include a link to the unboxing that I'm sure I did for the originally for this deck. I'm pretty sure I have one, and there you'll be able to hear me talk a little bit more about the deck. Got artifact tutoring here. Fabricate. There's of course a nice thing with 5 colours. There's a lot of things you can leverage here. And if you were thinking about upgrading this deck or converting it into, well, I don't think it would convert that well into, say, an EDH deck. It would be fairly major changes you'd have to make. But just generally, with 5 colours, it gives you a lot of options in terms of what you can choose from in terms of upgrades. We had the mirrors in here. Which were those creatures that added mana pool. So it's 2 for a 1/1, and then you get a ability to tap it for a certain colour of mana, and they had all 5 of those in here. Yeah, so we're probably going to see a few duplicates in this deck. But, as I've said before, those were fairly low in these plain chase decks compared to other precons. Couple of Pentad prisms. That's coming out real nice actually on the close-up view. do you reckon? This is probably the original Zendikar card that acted as a preview. I seem to remember the traps being a thing. So now we move on to the mana base. We have all of the artifact lands in here. And the blue one, there's 2 for those. So these would be all the way from original Mirrodin. And of course at this point, this would be before Scars of Mirrodin. Now the only thing with this deck, I rather wish they put some variations in them for the artwork. You'll notice that in certain colours where there's a lower amount of repeats, they actually just have one piece of artwork. And it's probably no surprise in an artifact deck like this to see slightly more blue cards for generating blue mana. So you can see we've got quite a number of islands, and I think spread across these we have the 3 different artworks from the set. And it looks like in the mana base looks like blue is the most represented in here. We just have a solitary forest there. So let's take a look at the actual plains cards themselves. And if you watch some of my earlier unboxings for this product, I explain a little bit about how that works. Focusing more on the artwork here. The only thing I'm not so good at, among a lot of things, is remembering specifically what planes belong to what blocks and sets. Some it's easier than others. So with this one from Alara, clearly it's the Shards of Alara block, and also the case in the Kamigawa. There's another one, fairly easy. Also sort of seeing echoes of other cards as well. Yeah, these were later ones, it's much more obvious where they're from in the plane. Directly referenced in the set names of earlier sets. So there we have it. Hope you've enjoyed that. I must admit it's very relaxing doing these. Thanks for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in the next episode.